Hi, I'm Jerry Rackley, and I teach marketing at the Spears School of Business at Oklahoma State University. Have you ever watched the Antiques Roadshow? There's something we can learn from it. That something we can learn has to do with customer lifetime value. Have you ever had an object around the house that's just gathered dust that you were about to throw out or put in a garage sale, only to discover that it was worth far more than you realized? Well, that's how it is for most businesses with their customers. So let's see how that looks in a clip from the Antiques Roadshow, and then we'll apply it to business.
This is a painting that I was given when my grandmother passed away. It always hung right above her bed.
Okay, and have you had it appraised before? Do you know if she had it appraised?
In 1998, it was appraised as a print at $200, and in 2004, it was appraised at $250.
So if we were going to put this in an auction today, I would suggest an estimate of $200,000 to $300,000.
We often have the same reaction as the young lady in the video clip did when we truly understand the value of our customers. Customer lifetime value is a very easy concept to understand. It is a measurement of the value a customer has to a business over the life of the relationship between the two. It's an important thing to measure for a number of reasons. One is when we know our CLV, it helps us understand the boundaries on cost to acquire new customers. It also, when we segment customers by the lifetime value, we can easily see which segments are more valuable and which ones are less valuable. But most importantly, it lets us change our culture when we and all of our employees understand the true value of customers to our business. It changes the way we perceive our customers, and it changes the way we treat them. So let's make it real with an example. We're going to use Starbucks, and I've got 5 choices on the screen. I want you to choose the answer option you think represents the CLV of a Starbucks customer. I found this data online, so I think it's pretty reliable. Let's go through together and calculate it to see which answer is correct. So we need some inputs to calculate CLV. They're pretty simple. We need to understand the purchase value of our customers, the purchase frequency of our customers, and how long they stay our customers. So what does the math look like? There's 5 steps. So what we're going to do first is determine the purchase value followed by the purchase frequency, and we'll multiply those things together and take the average. Then we'll factor in the customer lifespan, and that will give us the CLV. And when we have that, we'll have an estimate of the revenue we should expect to get from our customers over the life of the relationship they have with us. So in step 1, we simply need to understand what the purchase value is. So I'm using 5 customers that I think are typical representative customers. You, of course, would want a much larger sample size to do this for your business. But here's the customer spend per visit to Starbucks for each of these 5 customers in my sample. Just for fun, I've shown you the average on the bottom of the slide. Now for those same 5 customers, I want to know how often do they come in to Starbucks during the course of a week. So here's that data. Now I'm going to take the 2 and multiply them together. And you can see the product listed in the right-hand column. I'll add that up, take the average, and it turns out $24.30 per week is what these 5 customers average in terms of their weekly spend. Now we need to factor in customer lifespan. So fortunately in this example, I have a great database and I go to it and I'm able to pull how long each one of these 5 customers has been doing business with Starbucks, and it ranges from 10 years to 33 years. So I have the data, which makes my calculation simple. But what if you don't? What if you're a brand new business and you don't know how long customers are going to stay with you? Well, there's a shortcut. And that shortcut is simply to take 1 and divide it by your churn rate. So if you don't have all that historical data, this is how you can estimate it very closely. If you don't know what churn rate is, I'm happy to talk you through that. You can probably find a definition very easily by doing an online search. But anyway, for this sample of customers, their average tenure with us is 20 years. So now we're ready to do the calculation. I'm simply going to take that average customer lifespan, and since my customer value was a weekly figure, I'm going to multiply that by 52 weeks. When I do the math, it's $25,272. I don't know if that's the number you guessed on the earlier slide, but that's a pretty big number. And that's why Starbucks and its employees have the ability to do things for customers that to us seem extravagant. How can you give me a free drink today? Or how can you make my drink over if it wasn't just perfectly right? That's because they know how much you're worth to them, and they'll do a lot to make you happy and retain you. But this number is a revenue number, right? Most businesses care deeply about profit. So what about profit? Do we need to look at that? And I think yes, we should look at profitability. This is a gross CLV. To get the net CLV, it's very simple. We just do the same calculation, but now we multiply it by our profit margin, which is 21.3% in this example. When we do that, we get a gross CLV of $5,383. Still a big number. Which one do you need to calculate? Well, my advice is know them both. And sometimes the net number is more important to you in analysis and decision making, and sometimes the gross number is. So when you know your CLV, it helps make certain decisions better, such as how and when you'll break even on customer acquisition costs, how you can improve your margins, where you need to direct your resources to better serve your customers, if you're spending on the right channels, which ones you should increase and which ones you should discontinue. CLV helps you with all these things, where you can focus on lowering costs in a way that doesn't impact your customer lifetime value. And simply this, the old 80-20 rule, most businesses, when they do this analysis and they know these numbers, they discover that about 80% of their revenue tends to come from 20% of their customers, and you need to know who those 20% are. So now that you know your CLV, what do you do next? Well, I think you ought to track it on a regular basis because it's such a strong indicator of company health. There's some benchmark data you can also use. If your ratio of CLV to customer acquisition cost is 1-to-1, that's trouble. The more you grow your customer base, the more money you'll lose if that's your ratio. Most industry pundits say 3-to-1 to 4-to-1 is really kind of the sweet spot on this ratio. Some people would say, well, if it's 5-to-1 or more, even better, right? Not necessarily, because if your ratio of CLV to customer acquisition cost is that high, it probably indicates you're not growing as fast as you could because you're underspending on customer acquisition. But I think the most valuable part of CLV is the bottom line here, literally. When you know it and you tell your employees what it is and you're transparent about it, it empowers them. They will begin to do things, in some cases extraordinary things, to make customers happy and to retain customers. It is a powerful lever for changing your culture. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you want to learn more and go deeper, the OSU Spear School of Business Center for Executive and Professional Development is hosting a virtual series on driving customers to your business. It takes place from October to December of this year. You can see the agenda on the right, and I'm actually presenting the Generating Revenue Digitally topic during this series. If you would like to know more, please visit business.okstate.edu/CEPD. I hope you found this discussion helpful, and thanks for listening.